Welcome to Winning Paths, the Irish Field Archery monthly podcast, where victory is an adventure mapped with humour, guided by wisdom, and fueled by epic tales. Whether you're here to crush goals, sharpen your mindset, or just enjoy a good laugh, you're in the right place. Subscribe now, and let's tackle life's challenges together, with a wink, a grin, and a strategy that's anything but ordinary. Draw your bow, take aim, and let's hit those targets. Our material is original, born from our intellectual labor and countless hours spent researching, writing, and publishing. Each episode reflects our deep experience as writers and journalists, delivering content that's as insightful as it is engaging. Check for more at tfam.ie. So gather round, dear listeners, for what I have to share today might just catch you off guard, especially those of you who have grown accustomed to our explorations of myths and legends from the farthest reaches of the world, all steeped in the noble tradition of archery. Yet, rest assured, today's subject promises to be no less enthralling. In fact, I dare say, for many among you, it might prove even more compelling. Imagine this: our very own colleague from the editorial team, the talented Matt Latimer, yes, the same Matt who captivates us with his exquisite illustrations and vivid reports from the wilds of Northern Ireland, has turned his hand to the art of storytelling. But not just any storytelling, my friends. Matt has crafted a tale of epic proportions, a fantasy novel rich with adventure and mystery, naturally with a generous dose of archery, that he has aptly titled The Phoenix Archer. It is this remarkable creation that I am eager to share with you today. So, without further ado, let us dive into the heart of this extraordinary story, for what lies within its pages is a journey of heroism, magic, and wonder, a tale that promises to enchant and captivate anyone who dares to enter its world. Usually, it is the quiet nooks and crannies of some room in a lonely wing of a house, where the smell of old books wafts through, where light breaks through the veil of dust. It is the place, a refuge, where the word is born, where thoughts gallop, where those who choose to write not just with ink, but with the very essence of their souls preside. Matt Latimer is one such writer, a craftsman of storytelling who pushes the boundaries of reality to forge something far deeper, more disturbing, and, dare I say, better than the sum of its parts. It is with no little admiration, and perhaps a dash of envy, that I write this foreword to The Phoenix Archer, a novel that is a testament to the limitless possibilities of the human imagination. So, Matt, my friend, you have written and spoken many times about the confluence of archery and art, about how the act of unleashing an arrow is not so different from the act of writing. Both require precision, both depend on a sure hand, and both, when done well, leave an indelible mark. But wherever you've grabbed your pen, and quiver of course, you've gone beyond the realm of merely hitting your target. You've shattered it, reimagined it, and built something entirely new from its bits and pieces. Now, within The Phoenix Archer, you have created not just a story, but a world where the familiar rules of existence have been subverted, where the boundaries between reality and fantasy blur to create a dreamscape of epic proportions. Let us begin, as we should, with the opening pages of this volume, the prologue, The Ivory Griffin. Here we are introduced to Garvey Sathid, prince of the Dithrid Empire, whose journey touches on both the pursuit of glory and the inevitable fall that follows such hubris. Garvey, what a tragic figure, what a study of the pitfalls of pride. You have created him with a gentle hand, understanding the human condition too well for Garvey himself. This is a character who believes his worth is measured in the trophies he collects, the beasts he kills, and the accolades he imagines will follow. But, as we both know, the world has no patience for such foolishness. I must admit, Matt, that I found a certain dark pleasure in following Garvey's revenge. Perhaps it's that Irish, acquired part of me that relishes the irony of fate, the poetic justice that the universe dispenses with a sly grin. There is something deeply satisfying about the moment when Garvey, facing the ivory griffin, a creature of such unique beauty and terror, centers on the realization that he is not the hunter, but the hunted. The way you describe this scene is simply masterful, a tension that builds as Garvey's arrogance crumbles, a terror that seeps into his bones when, too late, he understands the futility of his ambitions. It is a moment that lingers long after the page is turned, reminding us of the folly of the human desire to conquer what should not be conquered. But it is not just Garvey who captures the imagination. In fact, it is the world of Anordaithe itself that takes center stage, a world that seems at once ancient and alive, as if waiting, dormant, for someone like you to breathe life into it, give it shape, and even timbre to its voice. The lands of Anordaithe, with their 5 continents, Crown, Seagull, Scar, Moor, and Main, each with their own unique character and history, are as much subjects in the story as the people who inhabit them. There is a richness in your world-building that is reminiscent of the best literary masters. I, as a literary theorist, find in the midst of your pages a shadow of Ursula K. Le Guin, especially in the way you weave the details of this world into the fabric of the story, allowing the reader to look at the larger medley without losing sight of the threads that tie it all together. And, naturally, there is Orion Aldenberg. Ah, Orion. It is impossible to pass over him indifferently. He may be adored or hated, but he will always evoke strong feelings, as he carries within him a seed of controversy. Orion, with his cold pragmatism, ruthless ambition, and almost pathological need for control, is a character that demands attention, that forces the reader to confront the darker aspects of human nature. What makes Orion so compelling is that he is not a caricature of a pool of traits, but a fully realized individual, whose motivations, while they may seem ambivalent at best, are entirely understandable. In many ways, he is a tragic figure, someone who believes that order can only be maintained through domination, that the natural world is something to be tamed rather than respected. One of my favorite passages in the novel, and I dare say it will also become a pivotal moment for future readers, is Chapter 6, The Vainglory Typhine, where Orion Aldenberg fully reveals the depths of his character. By this point, we have already seen glimpses of who he is, but here there can be no more doubts. Orion is at his most precarious as he sets in motion a plan to lure the Phoenix archer, Alejandro Zaragoza, into a trap using the typhon, a sea beast of unimaginable power, as bait. The sheer audacity of his plan, the cold methodical calculation behind it, is both terrifying and awe-inspiring, and yet there is a moment, a fleeting instant of vulnerability, where we catch a glimpse of the man behind the monster. It is in this moment that we understand the full extent of Orion's tragedy. He has lost sight of the line between order and tyranny, sacrificing his humanity on the altar of his insatiable ambition. In this respect, Orion reminds me of the great tragic figures of literature, those heroes who, in their pursuit of power, are ultimately undone by the very forces they sought to control. There is something almost Shakespearean about Orion. He is a modern-day Macbeth, his mind full of scorpions, his soul darkened by the realization that, in seeking to impose order, he has only managed to sow chaos. And yet, despite his wickedness, there is a part of me that cannot help but feel a twinge of sympathy for him. For who among us, faced with the uncertainties of life, has not longed for the kind of control that Orion seeks? Who among us has not, at one time or another, wished to bend the world to our will, to shape it in our own image, to impose our vision of order upon the chaos that surrounds us? It is this complexity, this duality, that makes Orion such a fascinating character, and one of the many reasons why The Phoenix Archer is a novel that will linger in our memories long after we have turned its final page. But it would be overly simplistic to claim that it is only the characters, in their broad framework, that make this novel a gem. Oh no, my friends, the true magic of this novel lies in the way Matt's skilled pen weaves the themes of power, ambition, and the natural world into a narrative that is both epic in scope and deeply personal in its artistic and literary execution. Take, for example, the relationship between Alejandro Zaragoza, the Phoenix Archer, and Xenia Kiamunt. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle and tempered by a shared respect for the natural world, is one of the most compelling aspects of the novel. Their connection is not just a partnership of convenience, but a deep and complex relationship that reflects their shared values and the trials they have faced together. This relationship is emblematic of the broader themes of the novel, where power and ambition are constantly at odds with the forces of nature, and where the personal is always intertwined with the epic. Interestingly, in Chapter 4, The Dominator Bear, we witness the brutal realities of the world conceived by Matt Latimer as Luciana Doran and Orion Aldenberg face the aftermath of a devastating bear attack on the village. The way their reactions are portrayed, Luciana's fierce determination and excitement at the challenge contrasting with Orion's calm, calculating approach, reveals the complexity of their characters and the stark differences in their motivations. This chapter is a masterclass in suspense, where the emotional weight of the narrative is matched by the visceral, raw beauty of the prose. The descriptions of the ruined village, with its smoldering remains and pools of blood, evoke a haunting sense of loss, while the emerging presence of the natural world, personified by the dominant bear, seems almost sentient, as if it too is mourning the destruction. Matt's writing in this passage is reminiscent of the depth and grace of Czesław Miłosz, capturing unspeakable horrors, while finding in them a strange, poignant beauty, much like Miłosz's reflections in the valley of the Isa. Here, the world is not presented as it is, but as it could be, where nature and humanity are locked in an eternal tragic dance of strength and survival. And yet, despite all the beauty, there is a darkness running through the Phoenix Archer that is embodied not solely in the character of Orion, but in the world of Anordaithe itself. It is a world where the balance between order and chaos is constantly shifting, where the forces of nature are as unpredictable as they are powerful. It is a world that challenges its inhabitants, forcing them to confront the limits of their own power and the consequences of their actions. In this sense, Anordaithe is a reflection of our own world, a world that is both beautiful and terrifying, a world where the line between civilization and savagery is dangerously thin. Certainly, a striking theme of the novel, which I believe will resonate with readers long after they have finished reading, is the relationship between man and the natural world. In the Phoenix Archer, nature does not serve as a passive setting against which the action takes place, but as an active participant in the underlying narrative, a force that shapes the fate of the characters and the very course of the story. The landscapes of Anordaithe, with their forests, mountains, and oceans, are as much protagonists of the novel as the people who inhabit them. They are places both wondrous and dangerous, spaces that remind us of the power and majesty of the natural world, as well as of our own pettiness in the face of it. Yet, the novel offers a philosophical and sociological context of the human condition, as in Carl Jung's study of personality and the archetype that constitutes its core. For Matt challenges the reader to consider the nature of power itself, where power is not so much an element as a force, an element of life. Within Matt's literary vision, we see characters placed under the pre-game of power, literally vulnerable in the face of it, and with its elemental nature. Whether it is Garvey's quest for recognition, Orion's desire for domination, or Alejandro's struggle to reconcile his own beliefs with the demands of the world around him, the theme of power runs like a thread through the narrative, connecting the various strands of the story. And it is in this exploration of power that I believe the Phoenix Archer touches on the essence of this genre, a portrayal that is bound to appeal to contemporary readers. For in a world where the balance of power is constantly shifting, as the line between order and chaos becomes increasingly blurred, this novel offers a timely reflection on the perils of raw ambition and the relevance of humility in the presence of forces beyond our control. So, dear reader, as you embark on your journey through the world of Anordaithe, I encourage you to take a moment to appreciate the depth and complexity of the story Matt has crafted. This is a telling piece that demands your full attention, one that rewards careful reading and thoughtful reflection. It is a work of imagination and intellect, beauty and darkness, power and humility. In short, it is a novel as rich and multifaceted as the world it describes. Here, Matt Latimer has showered us with a profound gift, a story that challenges us to reflect, feel, question, and exercise our imaginations. It is a story that reminds us of the power of literature, transporting us to other worlds, opening our minds to new ideas, and even asking us to see our own world in a new light, against the grain of Matt's imagination. For this, and for the countless hours of pleasure and reflection that this novel will bring, I am thoroughly thankful. Matt, my friend, you have outdone yourself. It's a novel of life, a never-ending cycle of color, shadow, depth, and all those little things that make it unique and, I would even say, pugnacious and stubbornly defiant towards the accepted canons of today's literature. It is a work of unlimited imagination, which, like the best works of literature, transcends genre to become something greater, a reflection of the human condition, a mirror in which we see both our strengths and our weaknesses, our hopes and our fears. So, to readers who are about to embark on this journey, I say, get ready. Here, you are entering a realm of unparalleled imagination, of profound philosophical inquiry, of characters that will etch themselves into your memory like your first love. Before you is the work of a writer at the height of his powers, a writer whose imagination defies mass trends and imposed narratives of being and creative expression. Welcome to the Phoenix Archer. I believe your journey through Anordaithe will be as rewarding as mine.